Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. Spoiler alert, this video contains plot information from Avengers Endgame that you won't want to hear if you haven't seen the film yet. So if that's the case, please tune out. Okay, spoiler alert. If you have seen the film, then you know that time travel is involved, and I don't want to overly nitpick on time travel because obviously it's a plot element that can't ever really be implemented without plot holes. But Captain America's ending in the film really doesn't make any sense at all, and so it's fair game. As you know, in the film, the Avengers go back in time to collect the Time Stones in order to reverse Thanos' work and bring back the life that has been erased from the universe. Then, at the end, Captain America is sent back in time again to return the stones to their places in their respective timelines. But he doesn't return back to the present as expected. Instead, he shows up as an old man, having lived out his life from the 40s onwards with his love Peggy Carter. There's of course issues here with the returning of the stones themselves. For one, they've already messed up the other timelines by taking the stones, and so even if a lot of time hasn't elapsed in those timelines, their futures are still greatly affected, especially because the stones really can't be returned to a time and place in which it would make it so they had never been taken. Certainly returning the Soul Stone to Vormir would be the greatest challenge, given that no one even knows where it was kept. I mean, is Captain America just supposed to leave it there and quietly walk away? Captain America brings back Thor's hammer too, and I'm sure Thor missed his hammer for a short time as well, but that was Fat Thor's fault. The biggest issue here, though, lies with Cap deciding to remain in the past. First, we don't know exactly what year he went back to meet up with his chick. If he went back to 1942 or before, he could have gone back to a time when the Steve Rogers in that time period was still a little shrimp. In which case, the future Rogers would have probably stopped that Rogers from either A, becoming Captain America, or B, getting it on with Peggy. Or maybe Cap just killed little Steve. But it's most likely that he wouldn't have allowed for two Rogers to be in the same timeline, so I'm pretty sure he went back to a time when his other self was already frozen and then macked on pegs. There's still some problems here though. First, does he just leave the other Steve Rogers frozen in ice? That's a pretty dick move to get the girl. And one can't make the argument that he was just trying to maintain the timeline, because if that was true, then he wouldn't have stayed in the past in the first place. Then, what happens when Steve Rogers is unfrozen in the future? Is there an old man Captain America and a younger one in his prime in the same timeline? And we know that no divergent timelines are involved because when old Steve Rogers shows up in the present, he doesn't show up in the time machine but on a park bench near the time machine, meaning he lived out his life in that timeline. This creates some other fairly big issues as well. Steve Rogers going back to the past would have not only prevented the man she married after Steve was frozen from marrying her, thus changing his whole life, but it would also erase Peggy's kids in the present. Captain America literally Thanos'd Peggy's kids. It's maybe possible that the man Peggy married was secretly Steve Rogers the whole time, but even if that unlikely scenario is true, it only makes Steve making out with Sharon Carter all the more creepy. It's also unclear if after Captain America went back to the past, he spent his life fighting crime, or he just simply lived in peace. Did he just let Bucky get tortured and experimented on, or did he rescue him? At the very least, his re-upping with the Pegmeister would have altered her timeline significantly. Agent Carter is an important hero in pre-SHIELD history, and Cap's going back would have stopped her from completing all sorts of important missions. And finally, if old Captain America is living in this current timeline, wouldn't he have just altered all of the events that these Avengers just went through? Anyway, as much as it was tragic to watch Captain America and Pegatron lose each other in the first Avenger, as Captain America says early on in Endgame, you just have to move on. He probably should have heeded his own advice. Anyways, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made you think or made you angry enough to comment and start a discussion down in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, I ask that you remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell and add a like to the video as well. For now, my name is American Ben. A lot more Avengers content coming up soon. I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.